Hey guys, here with a video showing you how to replace the front brake pads and rotors on a 2013 Ford Focus. This is a third generation Focus made from 2011 through 2018. So the process should be pretty much the same. This is not an ST, this is just a base model Focus. So that would probably be a different video, but yeah, I'm going to show you how to replace these. The first thing you need to do is jack the car up and get it on jack stands. If you don't have impact tools or air tools, then you need to first, using a 19mm socket, first break the lug nuts loose while the car is on the ground. Do not don't take them all the way off, obviously, when it's on the ground. Just break them all loose, then jack it up and put it on jack stands, and then you can loosen up the lug nuts and remove the wheel. If you do have impact tools or air tools, you can just skip that part, jack the car up in the air, and then go on ahead and remove the wheels. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, now what I like to do, since I'm going to be working on the front left side here, I like to turn the key on and turn the wheel to the left so that I can have good leverage on these bolts. Okay, once you got the wheel turned, you'll go on ahead and want to remove the caliper. There are little plastic caps right here. There's one on the top here, there's one on the bottom as well. You can just use a flathead screwdriver to just pop the cap off on the top and the bottom. Now inside here there is a caliper bolt that's holding it on. It is a 7mm Allen head like this. So you can go on ahead and break them both loose and remove them both. Now when you're loosening these, especially right here on the top, you can actually see where it's coming out at. And sometimes they don't want to come all the way out right away. You may find that if you use a flathead screwdriver, you can kind of push the screw away from the bracket. That way it makes it easier to take it off. After you've gotten those loosened, if you just turn the wheel like this, you will see that there is a retaining spring here. I'm sure there's a special tool to take this off, but honestly, you just use a flathead screwdriver and pop this out of the hole like this, and you can go on ahead and remove this. Then you turn this wheel back around here. The next thing you want to do is to take a flathead screwdriver, and if you notice there's holes in the rotor, stick it into one of the holes in here and pry this a little bit. Most of the time that will break the rotor free so it's loose, and also gives you enough room to pull the caliper off, like so. And as you can tell, this person has been driving on these brake pads forever. There is no more material left here, it's just metal. So I just hang this up here on the strut for now, and now we can focus on taking off this here caliper bracket. The caliper bracket is held on by an 18mm bolt. These two bolts are right here in the back. I use a long breaker bar. This is why I tell you to turn the wheel this way. That way you can clearly see what you're doing, and you have good leverage to loosen up these two bolts. You can go ahead and loosen and remove both of these bolts. Remove this bracket and just set it down, and now you can go ahead and remove the rotor. If for some reason your rotor is stuck on, what I like to do that helps all the time is to put the lug nuts back on. Just spin them on by hand so you don't damage them, and then take a hammer or a little sledgehammer and hit right here in between the lugs. Don't hit out here, because then you're putting a lot of force, and that translates straight to the wheel bearing, like sideways force. So just hit directly right on here, a few whacks, and I guarantee it will come off. This one's already loose, so I'm just going to pull it off. Just like so. You can see the back of this rotor is completely done. So then you can grab your new rotor, spray it off with brake cleaner before you put it on, and just slide it right back into place. Just like so. Then this will take a little bit of a finesse, but just take the caliper bracket, slide it back into place in the back. You'll have to line up the bolt holes while trying to keep the rotor in place. If some of the lug nuts are long enough, you can actually take a lug nut like this and just tighten it on by hand to hold the rotor right there in place. Then you can go on ahead and slip this into place and line up the bolts and tighten them back up as well. Make sure you use a breaker bar to tighten these as best you can get them. That way your brakes don't come falling off. Grab your new brake pads. If you'll notice, a new brake pad one of the pads will have this little clip that goes on the inside. On the inside here, that's what actually goes clipped into the piston here. So make sure you do note that. And then the other pad will have nothing. It'll just have these two little notches like that. This one you can go on ahead and just slide into place like here. It just slips right in and just stays like that. First thing we need to do though before we can stick the caliper back on is to take an old pad, take the flat old pad, stick it in here, and you'll need to use some type of compression tool. I use this one. There are other ones that are, ratcheting. You can squeeze them. I like this one. It works best for me. Stick this in here. Stick this guy in here like this, just like so, and then you can go on ahead and tighten this up. As you're tightening it up, it'll push the brake piston back into the caliper. Sometimes as you do this, the brake fluid reservoir may overfill. Honestly, I've only had that happen a couple times, but in case you want to not spill anything on your driveway or anything like that, go on ahead and put a drain pan underneath the car, roughly underneath the driver's steering wheel or where the brake fluid reservoir would be at, and that way you can catch any in case some does come out. I'll just go on ahead and tighten this all the way back in. Back in now. Now you can go on ahead and take your new pad, stick it in like this so that these little notches are facing up to the sky, and just pop it into place like so. And then you can take it and slip it right back over into place, and then you can go on ahead and tighten up the two 7mm Allens all the way as best as you can. They don't really take much, but like I said, you do want to make sure you do get them tight. Plastic caps back on. And now you can spin the wheel back forward, and now you need to reinstall this retaining spring. It's easy. You might need to use a pair of pliers to help you, but it's a pretty flexible spring. Like I said, unless you're not very strong, stick the bottom one in first. Slide this bottom around. It needs to go on the face of this. Both of these things have to go on the face. So stick this guy in here like that. You see the springs here, and you can kind of maneuver this one around to get where you need it to be. Like I said, you may need to use a flathead screwdriver to help you get it around the area it needs to be at. Make sure that these are fully seated into place, like so, and there you have it. So what I did was stick the bottom in. Next, I stuck this little pin into the caliper here, And then I came in here with a flathead screwdriver on the back side of this spring and kind of pried it up and around this little piece right here. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Go inside and step on the brakes to build up the pressure, and then that way you can go on ahead and remove this here lug nut and put your wheel back on. So I'm gonna go ahead and pump the brake pressure up like so. Now you can go on ahead and put the wheel back on and tighten up your lug nuts, and then obviously the other side is just the same process as this side. After that, go on ahead and follow the manufacturer recommendations for breaking in the brakes. I usually drive up to 40 miles an hour. I will not slam on the brakes, but I use the brakes very well. I use them back to back 3 or 4 times from 40 miles an hour. Obviously you need to find a road that you can do that on, but that's how I break the brakes in, and then they'll usually be good to go. You might have a you know, a burning smell at first from the brakes, but it'll go away after, you know, you drive it for a little bit. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And if you like this, please hit the like button, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the way out. All right guys, thanks very much.